Have you been waiting for the Reolink battery-powered video doorbell? I'm going to give you 3 reasons that you might want to reconsider. I'm Wanderer001. Let's get into it. Starting things off, Reolink did reach out to me and provide me with the Reolink battery doorbell for the purposes of doing this review. However, they do not get a say into the content of this review. For those of you who are just wondering what the problem is, the first 2 units did not have audio, meaning when spoken to the doorbell, it was not picked up on the application. By the 3rd unit, there was audio being picked up. Apparently, the first 2 units, unbeknownst to me, were pre-production units, while the 3rd is supposed to be a batch stock unit, which should be going out to everybody. Reolink has told me that they are working to prevent this from happening again with pre-production units, I'm assuming, but that the batch stock won't have this issue. However, currently there's also an issue with clip length, but Reolink says that that should be rectified by the end of the week I'm filming this. This is like the 4th time I'm refilming this segment. Perhaps by the time you see this video, the clip lengths that are shown at the end of the video won't be a problem anymore. And now on to the full review of the doorbell. General specifications of the doorbell itself: it is a completely plastic construction and is just a little over 6 inches in length, has a width of 2 inches. It does keep it within the sleek and stylish doorbells as opposed to some of the chunkier options. So this will be easier for you to place if you have a thinner frame and don't just want to have a random doorbell box on your front door. Looking at the front of the doorbell, up here at the top, this is actually an indicator light letting you know when it's in use. To the left and right of the lens, these are our microphones. Here we have our PIR sensor. This is a heat-based motion sensor, meaning that you need both heat and movement to trigger the camera. And then here we have 2 IR lights. And then here is our ambient light sensor, so it knows when to switch over into night mode. There you can see there's a little Reolink branding. And here we have our button. This button has an LED ring around it that lights up when pressed, like this. Indicator light as well. But also will light itself up as somebody approaches, letting them know where to push, which I really appreciate. This way I don't have to worry about somebody pushing all over my doorbell to try and get it to actuate. The other thing that this LED light ring around the button acts as is your charging indicator. It will be orange while it is charging, and when it's done charging, it will show green. Nice visual letting you know when things are done. Coming back up to our lens, this is a 2K 4 megapixel 2048 by 2048 aspect ratio and has a 1/3.11 CMOS sensor, and with a field of view of 150 degrees horizontal, 150 degrees vertical, and 180 degrees diagonal. So it is going to give you a little bit of a fisheye look. However, that fisheye look is going to allow you to see packages or boxes that are left on your doorstep that might be out of frame for other cameras, especially those that just use a single lens. But this also means that you could see a little more off to the left and right. It is a trade-off that I am willing to accept to get that extra view of my doorstep that I don't normally see with other doorbells. The video that you are going to get from this is 15 frames a second, whether that's day or night. Taking a look at the rest of our doorbell, up here at the top, this is going to be our unlock mechanism. This actually uses a fairly large unlock pin, unlike some others. You can't use something that you might have had for another doorbell camera if you're swapping this out, but it also means that it's a little trickier for somebody who has a SIM card ejector to get in there and pop it open. I really appreciate that. Coming to the bottom of our doorbell, we have our speaker and our locking mechanism down there, which kind of slips into place. And as we flip things around to the back, here is our lock location right up there. Here we could see we have connection points if we wanted to trickle charge this by wiring this in. We have our power on and off button. Underneath our rubberized flap here, we have a USB-C charging port to charge the 7,000 milliamp battery that is in this doorbell, which takes roughly 4 to 4.5 hours to charge. Is not terrible, but it is a long time to be without a doorbell, which is why these leads, if you want to trickle charge your battery, is a nice feature. You also have a micro SD card slot, which will accept up to a 256 gigabyte card to record all of those clips. If that's not enough space for you, this doorbell also works with Reolink's Home Hub and their Wi-Fi NVR for added space. Covered up down here is the QR code that you need for setting up this doorbell, and that's everything on the back. Some extras about the doorbell: it is a dual band Wi-Fi based doorbell, meaning it can utilize both the 2.4 gigahertz as well as the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum. The doorbell itself is also IP65 weather rated, as you might expect from something that's going to be outside. It also has a temperature rating of between 14 degrees Fahrenheit up to 131 degrees, giving you a nice wide range of temperatures that this can operate in. It also works with the voice assistant Alexa. But the doorbell is not the only thing that you get as part of this system. So let's use this as a jumping off point to take a look at what else we get in the box with this doorbell. We have mounting template, quick start guide, how to get the app, the doorbell itself, mounting plate, angled mounting plate, installation hardware, USB-A to USB-C charging cable, leads if we want to trickle charge this battery doorbell. Missing from the box for the Reolink battery doorbell is actually a digital chime like many other battery doorbells have, or if they don't connect to a home hub, they would be included. Reolink does have a digital chime. However, this is an extra peripheral that you will have to purchase in addition to the battery doorbell. If you are interested in picking this up, there is a light ring on the front there. There is a big speaker in the back. And then over on the left-hand side here, you actually have 3 buttons. This is your setup button. This is your change the audio tone that the doorbell will do when pressed. And then this is your volume button. So you can control this chime without actually having to go into the application and do it there. I kind of wish that it was included. They do offer bundles of the two, but maybe for a little more, I wouldn't have had to do a bundle. Now that we know what we get with this, what's next? That's setup. And in comparison to some other video doorbells that I've set up in the past, this was not terrible at all, but I also do recommend doing the setup before you do the installation to make your life a little easier. Let's take a look at what setup was like. This is setup of the Reolink battery doorbell. Step 1 is to turn on your Reolink video doorbell by selecting the button in the back there and then listening to it prompt you in several different languages, which I have covered up right now because it's still going. You're going to open up the Reolink app, and once you do that, you're going to come to the upper right hand corner and press the plus sign.
Reolink.
Once you do that, it's going to ask you to scan the QR code on the back of the camera. I'm going to do that off camera, and then it's going to ask you to choose your Wi-Fi network. And next. So it's going to want me to scan a QR code on the phone with the camera.
Camera is connecting to your router. Please wait.
Connection to the router succeeded.
And let me proceed.
Welcome to Reolink. Connection to the
Router succeeded. Welcome to Reolink.
All right, so we're going to turn off illegal lockout. And we have created a device level password, which is something I like about Reolink. So we're just going to let that set itself up. Reolink battery doorbell. I'm going to leave that name in place, and then it's giving you some information about positioning. Don't put where there's lots of movement. Don't point directly at the sun. Need a strong signal. Point away from heat source. And mirrors. Don't do mirrors. And then you can share your device, and now it's going to walk us through installation. So you've got 2 different ways. You can do wired or wireless. In my case, I'd be doing it without the wires, just kind of using the mounting plates. But if I select this, it's actually going to kind of walk you through the guide of how to do this. You can select skip in the upper right hand corner if you don't want to go through any of this. And then it's what type, hard or soft wall. So we'll say hard. Okay. Do I have a wireless chime? No. They recommend using it. Got it. Skip for now. And then finish. And then it wants us, especially since we don't have the chime, to enable push notifications. So we're going to do settings and allow push notifications, and then what type, incoming call, and then device notification ring, and then a schedule. We'll leave it at that. And it's got full screen mode now available. We'll say got it. And then wavy, that's me in real time there. Camera does need some charging, so we will do that next. But that was setup of the Reolink battery doorbell. One of the great things that I like about Reolink doorbells and cameras in general is the fact that they give you that extra layer of security during the setup process. Now we move on to installation. Because this is a battery powered camera that, yes, you can tap into trickle charge if you wanted to. But if you're like me, you're going to take the easy way because it is a battery powered camera, which means installation is not terrible at all. You simply map out where you're going to put your plate, drill your holes, put your plate into place, and then simply snap in your video doorbell. If you want to, you can use the angled plate as well, which is just another set of screws. Installation, not bad at all. The hardware is only one part of what you look for in a video doorbell. If you want to set up person, vehicle, and package detection, what about setting up quick replies? Well, that's all done through the application. So let's take a look at what we can do. This is the application for the Reolink Battery Doorbell. Here you can see I have the Reolink app opened up. It's at the top of the page. We've got a couple options that we can do right from here. We can trigger the PIR sensor on and off. We can do a shortcut right into the settings. We have our battery percentage down here, what's left, and then letting us know that it is not connected and the battery name. The not connected is because I'm currently using this in its battery state, meaning it kind of hibernates itself when it doesn't detect motion. If we want to activate the camera, we simply select it, and that's going to start the access process to the camera. We'll give that a moment to start up. Once we start the doorbell camera up, over here on the left-hand side, you can see the doorbell name, the bitrate of the camera feed. Over on the right-hand side, we have our toggle for setting off the alarm. Simply triggering this will set the alarm off outside. I can actually hear it through the camera, but it sounds like this. And we're just going to stop that so we don't annoy my neighbors. Over here to the right of the alarm, we have this 4-box grid. Well, we can have a 4-box grid or we can have more. This is going to show you any active Reolink cameras that you have right now. I only have the Altus PT Ultra up, review in the corner over there if you're interested. But you can have a box of 4 Reolink cameras, or I can do a 3x3, which will give us 9 cameras. Or if I double tap, which you can tell your active camera always by the blue outline, but I can double tap to be brought back in. Over here, we have our settings cog. We'll get to that momentarily. And to the right of the settings cog, we have our 3 dots, which will allow us to switch between day and night mode. So right there, I can select, well, it's on auto. I can select always on black and white or always on color. Next, we have immersive mode. If I select this, it's going to get rid of all the extras that you saw before. It's just going to show you the camera feeds, and I'm just going to bring us back to this feed, and selecting our dots one more time is picture in picture. This is one of the really cool things that Reolink does, allowing you to, on an Android phone, kind of put your feed there and scroll through your applications while you continuously monitor what's going on. And right there, you might have seen there was a car that went through, and in the upper right-hand corner right there, there was a car icon letting you know what this camera actually saw. Over here, we have a pause button. Selecting this will pause the feed, so if you don't want to use the battery because you're looking at something else, you can pause the live feed to help preserve the battery. To the right of that, we have our sound. We can turn on and off our sound from here. Next, we have a camera icon. Selecting this will take a picture of whatever happens to be in the live feed at that time. To the right of that, we have our video camera, which, as it might sound, if I select that, it's going to record movement in this live feed. So sadly, I don't have any movement at the moment, but that will record it, save it, and we can download it later. Next, we have our high. Well, this is clear, balanced, and fluent. These are the high, medium, and low settings for the video feed that we have from this. Clear is the best, mid is our low, and then fluent drops it down. You can kind of tell if I zoom in on these shrubs here, jump it up to mid-range, which drops it all the way out. We'll do those shrubs again, and then clear. Give that a moment to up itself, and then we zoom in on those shrubs again, giving you an idea of what the detail is like. And you saw the pinch to zoom. To the right, we have full screen mode. This will make everything big and kind of shift the location of some of our options. Coming down, we have our quick reply area. Selecting this will give you access to several quick replies. We have the preset 3, which sound like this.
I'm sorry. I think you've knocked on the wrong door.
Hi, we'll be right there. Please wait a moment. Hi, please leave the package at the door. We'll get it later.
Hey, you, what are you doing? Get off my property. I saw you coming up. I don't take solicitors. Go away.
Or we have the settings sprocket right here, which will bring us into voice management, which we can get to from our settings area as well. But since we're here, we have auto reply none. We can set up an auto reply, time waiting, how quickly after the doorbell is pressed will the auto reply happen. Right now, it's set to as soon as they do it, but you can do 2 seconds all the way up to 20 seconds. And then you can have message none and then the pre-programmed ones. You also have plus sign here, which will allow you to record your own 10-second clip. Hey, you, what are you doing? Get off my property. I saw you coming up. I don't take solicitors. Go away. And then sound test, which plays it from here. So you can make sure that everything is A-OK. And you can see it is thinking up there as it's getting ready to send this information to the camera. So I would recommend giving it a name. So in my case, go away and save. And now it's added to the list of quick shots that I can do. I can also select here and rename or delete. And that is under our quick replies. And notice I come back and refresh, and now I have quick reply right there for the new one that I created. Next, we have our tap to talk. Selecting that will enable full duplex from the doorbell. So no pushing and holding. You can have a two-way conversation, and my neighbors probably think I'm crazy. And then to the right of that, we have our playback. Playback is going to be for your clips, letting you know, hey, what has it seen? So the 3 dots indicate motion. And if I select the filter icon down here, I could say, don't care about motion, might care about cars, might care about button presses, care about packages. So let me actually do cars. And then here we could see I've got a bunch of 8-second clips, 9-second clips with a car. If I select it, it will load up the video stream right there. And then just like we had on the live feed, we have several options that we can do, but we also have the option in the upper right-hand corner here, the ability to slow it down to 0.25. We also can download something from here. And this is one of the great things that Reolink does, allowing you to make this clip smaller if you wanted it to be. You simply drag the sizing handle from the left or the right, and then select download, and you'll download a clip of a smaller size if you needed to, and done. Obviously with these 8-second clips, I don't have to worry about that. But with a person or package, you might want to see more of that. In our playback area, we also have the ability to change our calendar date. So simply selecting our calendar view will let you know, hey, anything in white, there's something that you can go back to and look at. We're going to come back to our October date. If we want to change the view, simply selecting this icon here will change it into a grid view rather than a timeline view. And pressing the X will bring us out of the playbacks area. And those are all the camera controls that we have. Coming back up to the sprocket icon, this brings us into the camera settings. Here we can see doorbell name as well as the used space on the SD card that I have in there. Selecting this area will show you a lot of personal information, so I'm not going to go into there, but that's where you can check your firmware. Coming down, we have battery. Right now it's telling me I have 65% left. Next, we have Wi-Fi. Want to make some changes to your Wi-Fi? This is where you do it. Sensitive information, not showing that on camera. Moving down, we have display. This is going to be a real-time display of what your camera is seeing. Right here, we can flip vertically. Why you would do that with a doorbell camera? I have no idea, but Reolink allows you to do that. And you can see in real time because there's a car driving through. You can also flip horizontal. So now my neighbor's car is where my car should be. And there are some cases where you might need to do that. The fact that Reolink gives you that ability is one of the selling points of the app. Coming down, we have stream. Selecting this, well, here we have clear and fluent. If I select on these, hypothetically right here, I can change some of this information. I can do 15 frames per second or 10. I can adjust the maximum bitrate and then save that as a default for my stream. Coming down, we have HDR, auto on and off. You've been seeing it in off mode, but if I turn HDR on, you're going to see kind of a sharpening of the picture in the background. Next, we have anti-flicker. You have 60 hertz or 50 hertz. Generally, this is if you are in another country and you've ever taken video and you've seen things flickering, it's because the hertz rate of the lights are different. So if you need to change that, that's where you can do that. And then we have auto mode for black and white or color. I have it on auto. It selects on its own. Here we have brightness. Reolink will allow you to adjust the brightness of this feed. So you can see right here, it's a little dark. I can brighten that up just by doing that. But keep in mind, if you do that, you will possibly wash out your camera's feed if it gets too much light exposure. Just something to consider. Camera name, you can select its location, top left, top right, bottom left, etc. Same thing with the date, selecting that, select its location, Reolink watermark on or off. Here we have privacy mask. I can select this, and what this will do is allow me to draw a box. So I want to give my neighbors their privacy, especially when they're coming home. I create the box and I select save. What will now happen is there will be this black box there that will not be visible in the live feed or in recordings. If I want to get rid of it, I simply come back to privacy mask and select remove and continue. And there we go. The privacy mask is gone. I don't have to save. I can simply select cancel and it will bring me back to where I was. Coming down, we have brightness and shadow. Right now, this is set for auto, so it will adjust both on its own, but I can turn this off, and now, well, here we go. Color in the day mode, well, I want to tap that brightness up, so this is another place where you can change these settings. I want to lower maybe my shadows. You can refine the image to what you want to see, and if for whatever reason you screw things up too much, you can simply restore the default, and it will go back to what it was. Or you can select auto again and let the camera decide for itself, and here you can see it got darker right here, because that's what the auto has decided is the optimal picture quality. Same thing with black and white. I can select this and it will be that IR setting. Do I want to increase the brightness, lower the shadows? Well, I want to restore the default and then just put it back to auto and let the camera decide for me. And that was under our brightness and shadows. We're going to come back because that was just under our display. Let's move on to sound. We have record audio and then doorbell sound. So doorbell sound, when they push it, they hear something, and record audio if you want to record the conversation from their side. Some places don't allow you to do that, so that's where you could turn it off. Volume by default is up at max, and then voice messages, well, if I select this probably looks very familiar because we touched on it from the auto responses area before. Moving on, we have lights. We have our indicator light on, infrared auto, so we can do auto or just stay off altogether, and then we have our button ring light, auto, stay off, or auto and always on at night. And we're gonna come back. Next, we're gonna do Chime. When we come into Chime, we have existing Chime, automatic chime detection, meaning if you've got this wired in, or advanced, where it will walk you through the steps of setting up the chime. You also have Google Assistant and Alexa. I was not able to get Alexa to recognize the doorbell, and I don't know why. I followed the directions and everything. I pressed the buttons. It was problematic. So if you don't want to just have notifications sent to your phone because you don't have a physical chime box in your home already, you're going to want to do the Reolink Chime, which is an accessory that you have to purchase in addition to the doorbell. It still keeps the doorbell within a reasonable price range, but I just want you to be aware of that. So to add a chime, you simply press the plus sign in the upper right hand corner, and then it walks you through some fairly easy step. You've got a test one right here. So if I do this, it will ring the doorbell. Maybe you heard that downstairs. You can select the light. So the doorbell chime lights up. And then we have sounds. We can set a specific sound for visitor, for person, for vehicle, for package, and then others if we want to have that off. And then I had the volume all the way up. It is pretty loud. And then if we turn up the volume on my smartphone right here, you can actually hear a smattering of the sounds. Just like that. Now I want you to pay attention to why some of these are actually off and not turned on with a specialized sound, because what would happen is if I turn on person and I select a sound and turn it off, what that will do is if a person is detected by the doorbell, it will actually ring the doorbell chime without the person pressing the button. So you can do that for vehicles, but I live on a fairly busy street and vehicles go by quite frequently. I do have it for package. So if a package is detected without somebody pushing the button, I'll get notified. Moving on, we have PIR motion sensor. I have it on. You can toggle that off, which would just mean that you would get notifications if you got a button press, and its sensitivity is 80. You can adjust its sensitivity, as well as selecting this option will help reduce false alarms if you're getting too many notifications. Detection alarm. Well, I have no detection zones set up, but if I wanted to, I can set up a detection zone for people. Well, right here, that's where I care about, and then I can save. And that's a person zone. Vehicle zone, well, I only care about over here because that's my driveway. Package zone, well, I'm going to be very nice and keep an eye on both my front porch and my neighbor's front porch and save. And all of those are adjustable. So if I want to come in here and I'm going to do other, I'm just going to select erase all because I don't want to have any zones. I want to get notified everywhere of anything. Next, we have motion masking. What this will do is put a blue box around a moving target to help you better identify something that might be moving through frame. And here we have sensitivity. So we have smart detection. How sensitive do you want this to be? You can see I lowered the sensitivity for people and then raise the sensitivity for package. So the fact that Reolink lets you do this on a detection by detection basis is another reason why the Reolink app stands above all other consumer-based apps. Next, we have object size. This is another great thing that Reolink does. It allows you to, for person, vehicle, and package, select a minimum object size and a maximum object size. So for me, I'm going to say a package. The minimum object size that I'm going to get for a package is probably about that. So I'm going to put that there, and it won't tell me if I get something smaller than that. For a person, I would say, here's a maximum size. So a person is going to be kind of tall. So anything bigger than that, I'm telling the camera, ignore it, don't tell me about it. So we're just going to erase both of those and save. And that was our object size. Coming back, we're coming to camera recording. You can have it on, as you might imagine, and then a schedule. So here it is enabling, and then person, vehicle, other, visitor, and packages. You can enable or disable simply by selecting. I would select a time, and I could say disable, and then strip and select days. I'm going to leave everything on because that's how I would like it. And then here we have post motion recording, 8 seconds. You can go all the way up to 30 seconds. What this means is when motion has stopped for a trigger, it will continue recording for 15 seconds, in this case, afterwards, to make sure that it gets all the happenings. And then overwrite recording, well, I have it on overwrite the oldest file, but you can do overwrite interval of 1 day all the way up to 30 days. And coming down, we have push notification. Currently, I had that off because I didn't want it going off while I was doing this. But if I turn on push notifications, I can get a push notification for an incoming call. And then here's our visitor's ringtone. So I can select what type of ringtone I'd like them to have. And then device notification ringtones, turn that on, can select, and then a schedule. When would I like to be notified of said rings? So the fact that they allowed me to have a schedule, I greatly appreciate. Moving on, we have email alerts. So this would be very similar to our push notification, but I can set up an email address to send this to, and this is how you would do that if you're interested in that. Same with FTP. It's off by default, but if you wanted to securely FTP files or information to yourself, this is where you'd come to do that. Time-lapse. There are a lot of cameras out there that do time-lapse, but Reolink is very good in that, one, they give you some predefined options, moving cloud, sunrise, sunset, construction, blooming, or custom. Or I can select the sprocket icon and make sure that it overwrites my old time-lapse files. But when I come to custom, I can select when it starts, how long it's going to shoot for, the interval, the quality, and the type. So I can say balanced, do a video. You could do photo, but if you're going to do time-lapse, it is strongly recommended that you do a video unless you want to have hundreds of photo files. Here we have installation method. Well, this will walk you through the installation guide. So I can say start, I can do wired, or I can do battery, and then it will walk you through the process of doing that if you jump into the application first before actually installing. And then advanced, we have share device. So you can share this video feed with other people as long as they have a Reolink app. You have illegal login lockout. Hey, turn that on. If somebody tries to access my camera and inputs the wrong password X amount of times, it will lock things out and require me to come back and reset. Change device password because this doorbell has its own password. So it's not just the Reolink app. It is the doorbell itself that you can change the password for. Date and time, if you need to adjust your date and time, right now it's synced with my phone. You can reboot the doorbell and restore the doorbell from here. And then when we back out of our advanced settings, in our general settings area, we can log out of this device and we can delete this device. But those are all the things that we can do in the Reolink application. With the application out of the way, what's next? Well, for me, that's testing. Does the doorbell actually do what it's supposed to do? In that it takes video and acts as an audio bridge between you and the person outside your home. Audio from the doorbell itself to the application is really a mixed bag. Honestly, I don't understand what's going on. If you push the doorbell, you can hear that audio in the recording. However, if somebody's talking to you from the doorbell to the application, you cannot hear the person's voice coming from the doorbell's microphones to the actual application. And I did reach out to Reolink and present them with my findings and samples, and they sent me a second doorbell to test. Sadly, even the replacement doorbell had these similar audio issues from the doorbell's microphones to the application itself. In reverse though, audio from the application to the doorbell and that speaker down there, perfectly fine. You can hear everything that's going on. The quick notices, you can hear those. My voice on the other end, you can hear that. The alarm, you can hear that. And I did all sorts of like getting close, spinning it around, bringing it right next to my Wi-Fi router to make sure I limited what could possibly be causing the issue. By the time I got the third doorbell, the audio issue from the doorbell itself to the application seems to have been resolved. However, I don't know how they resolved the issue. I did receive a sealed box from Reolink with the third video doorbell. I have reached out to Reolink to see if they can provide me what they did to this doorbell in order to make the microphones work correctly. I'm going to show you the audio samples from camera 1, 2, and 3 so that you can see the differences.
And really close dry. Audio test, real video doorbell, indoors. Right there is the Wi-Fi access, and I've lowered the actual video quality all the way down. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test. And I'm even going to rotate this all the way around and continue to talk. If any audio comes through more clearly than what I have been getting, which is absolutely nothing. And there we go. Full 100, 300. Audio test, Reolink video doorbell number 3, test 2, test 3, and test. I've officially hit the record button to see how long I can get the audio from this to last. I'll do this later.
Reolink battery doorbell, audio test. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test.
With these samples from doorbell 3, you obviously heard that you can hear things finally. However, you might have noticed that the clips looked a little weird. Well, that's because with doorbell 3, I'm guessing in the firmware that was updated, because all 3 of them do it now, there was a bug that was introduced that made it so clips are very short. And even if you hit the record button, you're not getting the full clip, which is problematic, but should be software-based and able to be corrected by Reolink. I also informed them of this particular bug, so hopefully by the time you're seeing this, that should all be resolved, and any comments that I get from Reolink, I will be sure to place in the description of this video. Just because somebody in an earlier video doorbell review made mention of this, here's what it sounds like when you ring the button. Pretty loud, nice and audible. Video samples. Because this is a 2K camera and this is only a 1080 video, up there in the corner I will link to a separate video that displays all the video that I took from this in its original 2K glory. However, when speaking of the video, in the day, things are well defined, whether that be people, packages, or vehicles, and faces are very clear, and you can even read words on shirts, which is why I generally wear this shirt when I'm testing. Low light, which is going to be that almost color night vision, which is nice, but things get a little ghosty around faster moving targets, but nothing too bad to be extremely noticeable, and is still a very clear picture. Night mode, using the IR, you can see a target well. However, there is a little haloing around your subject depending on the color of the attire that is worn. Overall, you can see that somebody came up to your porch or the box that you had there. You might not be able to make out their face, as the camera kind of blows out their face because of the IR. You can tweak it a little bit in the application settings, but if you tweak it for the night mode, then the day mode might suffer. It's not a deal breaker, but just a data point that I want you to be aware of. Next, detection speed. I want to know how quickly I get a notification when somebody approaches this, or when somebody presses the doorbell. What I can say about walking up and having it trigger based on the PIR sensor, it was a little slower than some other doorbell cameras that I've tested, but still was within an acceptable range.
Notification speed test, Reolink Doorbell on 5G. Just past that bush, it should pick me up because of the way it's angled. So we're gonna not start things until I get to about here, because it shouldn't be able to see me yet. So I will start it here. Doorbell is well within view. And we're waiting. Pulse. About 10 to 11 seconds.
Pressing the doorbell also gave an almost instantaneous notification. Even with all the great things that this video doorbell does, that does not mean that it is not without its faults. Then I want to bring to your attention for data points. This doorbell does not come with a chime in the box. Yes, you can purchase it as an add-on, but I've had other doorbells like this that come with the chime. And the fact that, yes, you can pair it with Alexa in order to act as your doorbell chime is good if you have Alexa, but if you don't, then you're relegated to either purchasing a peripheral or having to share the camera out with everybody in your home so that they get notification when the doorbell is pressed. The IR lights that I spoke of before do need to be played with and adjusted if you want to be able to see people's faces at night. But again, as I mentioned before, that could make the daylight video suffer depending on where you have this placed. Last one is splitting hairs for me, and that is this flap in the back for the USB-C and the micro SD card slot. It's weatherproof, it's nicely sealed, but it can only go back in one way. I know this is nitpicking, but if I have a shape that is the same size both ways, I just want to be able to put it back in there without having to line everything up. I know that one is really splitting hairs, but a data point nonetheless that I wanted to bring to your attention. Overall, I went into this really liking this doorbell. The audio issues, once corrected, make this a very functional doorbell. The software glitch that's happening right now with the clip length can be changed in the future via a firmware update, and will denote in the description area below if that is resolved in a timely fashion. But the idea of playing Russian roulette currently, if you're going to get a doorbell with functioning audio, makes this a difficult recommendation to make. If you can look past and don't need audio, then it's a solid device. If Reolink comes out with a statement saying, hey, we've corrected the issue, there will be no issues going forward, or if you purchased a non-functioning, because that's what it is, a non-functioning doorbell, they will replace it for free, then this could be a good battery-powered video doorbell for you. But right now, it's hard to make that recommendation. If you're willing to take a chance, I will have a link in the description area below where you can pick one up for yourself. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Still not sure if this is the right battery-powered video doorbell for you? On screen now, you'll see 2 other reviews that I've done to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.